Have you ever sat alone in the quiet of the night, feeling an emptiness that money, people, or success just couldn't fill? That deep ache in your heart isn't loneliness. It's a divine call, a whisper from heaven asking, "Do you know me?" You see, religion can make you busy, but only a relationship with Jesus can make you whole. You can go to church every Sunday, read the Bible every day, and still miss the very heartbeat of God, a personal relationship with His Son. Jesus isn't looking for perfection. He's looking for connection. He doesn't ask you to fix yourself before coming to Him. He asks you to come as you are, broken, tired, uncertain, because He specializes in restoring what's been shattered. The moment you truly open your heart, the moment you whisper, "Lord, I need you," heaven moves, angels rejoice, chains fall. That's the power of knowing Him, not just knowing about Him, but knowing personally. When you walk with Jesus, peace becomes your constant companion. Fear begins to fade because you realize you're never walking alone. Every battle becomes bearable. Every storm becomes temporary because His hand is holding yours. The relationship He offers isn't distant. It's intimate, daily, real. If you've drifted away, come home. If your heart feels cold, let His love warm it again. You're not too far gone. You're one prayer away from the greatest relationship you'll ever know. Jesus is waiting, not with judgment, but with open arms, ready to turn your pain into purpose and your weakness into strength. For too long, many have confused religion with relationship. Religion can teach you rules, but relationship lets you experience love. Religion says, "Do more, try harder, prove yourself." But Jesus says, "Come to me and I will give you rest." The heart of God has never been about ceremonies, rituals, or outward displays. It has always been about intimacy with His children. When Jesus walked the earth, He wasn't impressed by titles or traditions. He sat with the broken, touched the untouchable, and loved the forgotten. Why? Because His mission was to restore relationship, not to establish religion. Religion keeps people at a distance, but Jesus broke down every wall that separated us from the Father. He didn't come to create another system. He came to bring life, real, abundant, personal life. To know Him is to know peace. To walk with Him is to experience freedom. True relationship with Jesus begins not when you follow rules, but when you open your heart to His voice and realize He wants you, not your performance, but your presence. Religion tells you that your worth depends on your deeds, how often you pray, how many verses you memorize, how perfect your behavior appears to others. But a relationship with Jesus is not based on performance. It's grounded in love. He already knows your flaws, your struggles, your failures, and still calls you His own. That's grace. Religion will make you fear failure, but relationship teaches you that even in failure, you still love. When you stumble, He doesn't turn away. He reaches out His hand and lifts you up again. In a world obsessed with image and perfection, Jesus offers something completely different: acceptance without condition. He doesn't demand that you come dressed in holiness. He covers you with His righteousness the moment you say yes to Him. Religion works from the outside in, trying to clean what's visible. Jesus works from the inside out, transforming your heart until everything about you reflects His love. Many people have been hurt by religion, by harsh words, judgmental attitudes, or cold traditions that lack compassion. But that's not who Jesus is. He never shamed a sinner. He embraced them. He never rejected the broken. He healed them. He never demanded perfection. He offered mercy. Relationship with Jesus is not about following a list of do's and don'ts. It's about walking daily with a friend who knows you better than you know yourself. He listens when no one else will, comforts when everyone else leaves, and understands even the prayers you can't put into words. Religion can make you feel like you must chase God, but relationship reveals that God has been chasing you all along. From the moment you took your first breath, He has been calling you closer. Not to control you, but to love you deeply, personally, and eternally. When you truly begin to walk with Jesus, everything changes, not because someone told you to change, but because his presence transforms you from within. Religion enforces change through pressure. Relationship produces change through love. It's like a wilted flower revived by sunlight. When you connected to him, you begin to flourish. Your words soften, your thoughts align with peace, and your desires shift toward what's pure and good. You start to recognize that joy isn't found in religious performance, but in constant fellowship with your Savior. You don't pray because you have to, you pray because you want to. You don't worship to earn approval, you worship because you already have his love. That's the beauty of relationship. It's not forced, it's free. Every moment spent with him strengthens your spirit, renews your mind, and fills your heart with the assurance that you belong to the King of Kings. Religion can make you busy doing things for God, yet keep you distant from knowing God. It's possible to serve in ministry, sing in church, and still miss the sweetness of his voice. Relationship invites you to sit at his feet and simply be, to know him beyond words, beyond works, beyond human understanding. That's what Mary discovered when she sat before Jesus, listening to his heart while Martha was distracted by duties. Jesus gently reminded her that relationship was the better part. Too many today are running from task to task, trying to earn what has already been freely given. Jesus doesn't need your performance, he desires your presence. When your heart becomes more focused on loving him than on pleasing people, you enter the realm of real faith, where obedience flows naturally, not out of fear, but out of love. Relationship with Jesus is the very foundation of true spiritual life. Without it, religion becomes empty, a shell without substance, a flame without warmth. But when you know him personally, everything gains meaning. Reading the Bible turns from duty into delight. Prayer becomes a conversation, not a chore. Worship turns into an encounter, not a routine. This relationship is not something you visit on Sundays, it's something you live every day. It's knowing that even when you fail, his grace remains. It's realizing that his presence isn't limited to the church building. He walks with you at work, at home, in your struggles, and in your victories. That's the relationship Jesus died to give you, not a religion of rules, but a life of intimacy. He doesn't want your rituals, he wants your heart. When your faith becomes personal, your peace becomes permanent, and your life begins to reflect the beauty of his love from the inside out. So many people hesitate to come to God because they feel unworthy. They think they must clean themselves up before approaching him, as if God only welcomes the spotless, the perfect, the strong. But that's not the Jesus of the Bible. He calls the broken, the weary, the sinner, and the lost. He says, come as you are. Not come when you're better, not come when you've fixed your past. Just come. The arms of Jesus are open wide, not waiting for your perfection, but longing for your presence. Grace doesn't ask you to earn it. It meets you right where you are and begins the work from within. When you take that first step toward him, you don't have to have everything figured out. You don't need to understand theology or perform rituals. You simply need to open your heart, because the moment you do, grace begins its transforming work, the kind of work that no human effort could ever accomplish. Jesus specializes in starting where you've stopped, rebuilding what you thought was beyond repair, and redeeming what the world said was wasted. Grace isn't a reward for the righteous. It's the remedy for the broken. When Jesus walked among people, he didn't avoid those who were imperfect. He touched lepers, spoke to outcasts, and dined with sinners. Every encounter was a demonstration of divine acceptance. He didn't tell Zacchaeus to change before he came to his house. He called him down from the tree and entered his world just as he was. It's grace that comes to you first. It doesn't wait for your behavior to change. It's the very power that changes your behavior. Too often, religion says get right before you come to God, but grace says come to God and he'll make you right. The love of Jesus doesn't start after you've fixed your mistakes. It begins right in the middle of your mess. He doesn't demand perfection. He provides it through his righteousness. When you encounter that love, something inside you shifts. shame loses its hold, guilt begins to crumble, and you realize that His grace was enough all along. Many people carry heavy burdens, guilt from the past, regrets that replay in their minds, and mistakes they wish they could erase. They feel disqualified from God's love as though they've gone too far or failed too many times. But grace doesn't keep score. Grace rewrites the story. It takes what the enemy meant for shame and turns it into testimony. When the prodigal son returned home, he came filthy, broken, and unworthy. But the father didn't school him. He ran to him, embraced him, and celebrated him. That's a picture of how God receives you. He doesn't wait at a distance with folded arms. He runs toward you with open arms. Grace doesn't just forgive. It restores. It dresses your wounds, puts a robe on your shoulders and a ring on your finger. It reminds you that you were never disowned, just waiting to be found. You might feel like a failure, but grace whispers, "You're still my child." No matter how deep your sin, His mercy is deeper still. The beauty of grace is that it doesn't leave you the same. It accepts you as you are, but refuses to let you stay that way. When Jesus meets you in your brokenness, He begins a process of transformation that religion could never produce. Think of the woman at the well. She came hiding from shame, but she left carrying living water. She didn't attend a seminar or complete a program. One encounter with grace changed everything. That's what happens when you come as you are. His love begins to heal what's been wounded and rebuild what's been torn down. Grace replaces your striving with peace, your fear with faith, and your guilt with gratitude. It's not about behavior modification. It's about heart transformation. You don't have to pretend before God. You can be real, honest, and raw, because He already knows you completely and loves you entirely. Grace isn't intimidated by your scars, it's drawn to them. The enemy loves to convince you that you're not ready to come to God. He whispers you've messed up too much. You're too far gone. You'll never be good enough. But that's the greatest lie of all. If being good enough could save you, Jesus wouldn't have needed to die. Grace steps in precisely because you can't fix yourself. The cross is proof that God saw your worst and still offered His best. The blood of Jesus didn't just cover your sin, it erased it. When you accept His grace, your past no longer defines your future. You are no longer the person who failed, you are the person who's forgiven. The slate is clean and the chains are broken. Grace doesn't just bring you to God, it keeps you in Him. It strengthens you when you fall, comforts you when you're weak, and empowers you to walk in freedom. So, when guilt tells you to stay away, remember, grace already made a way. To come as you are is to trust that God's love is greater than your shame. It's to believe that His grace can reach the darkest parts of your heart and still call you beautiful. You don't have to wear a mask with Him. You don't have to hide your weakness or pretend to be strong. He already knows every tear you've cried, every battle you've lost, and every doubt you've wrestled with, and still, He chooses you. Grace doesn't demand perfection before it begins its work. It simply asks for surrender. When you say, "Lord, here I am," that's when His power begins to move. The same God who called fishermen, tax collectors, and outcasts still calls people like you today, not because of who you are, but because of who He is. His grace doesn't depend on your past. It depends on His promise. And when you take that step toward Him just as you are, grace will always do the rest. There are moments in life when the road feels long, the night feels cold, and the silence feels louder than words. You might look around and see no one standing beside you, wondering if anyone truly understands what you're facing. But there's a truth far greater than your feelings. When you walk with Jesus, you are never alone. From the very moment you invited Him into your heart, His Spirit made a home within you. He promised, "I will never leave you nor forsake you." That's not a temporary promise. That's eternal assurance. Even when life feels uncertain and everyone else walks away, Jesus remains. You may not always see Him, but His presence is there, steady, faithful, unshaken. When tears fall in secret, he counts every one. When fear grips your soul, his hand reaches out to steady your heart. Walking with Jesus doesn't mean the road will always be easy, but it means you'll never face it by yourself. His companionship is constant. His comfort is near, and his love is unbreakable. There's a difference between walking alone and walking unseen. The world might look at you and think you're by yourself, but heaven sees an entirely different picture. Jesus walking beside you through every valley and over every mountain. When you take one step, he's right there taking it with you. When you whisper prayers no one else hears, he listens. When you feel too weak to continue, his strength becomes your own. He doesn't just guide from afar. He walks within your pain, your confusion, and your uncertainty. There's no moment too dark, no place too far where his presence can't reach you. The disciples learned this truth on the stormy sea. When the waves crashed and fear overwhelmed them, Jesus appeared, walking on the very thing that threatened to destroy them. That's what he still does today. Whatever storms you face, he walks on them to reach you. His presence doesn't always remove the storm, but it always removes the fear. Loneliness is one of the enemy's most powerful weapons. He wants you to believe that no one cares, that no one sees, and that you've been abandoned. But when you walk with Jesus, you carry the presence of the one who defeated loneliness itself. He knows what it's like to be betrayed, misunderstood, and left alone, yet he still chose to walk with you. When no one else can comprehend your pain, he understands it perfectly. The Bible says he is a friend who sticks closer than a brother. That means even when people fail you, Jesus remains faithful. You never have to beg for his attention, never have to prove your worth to earn his love. His companionship is not conditional, it's covenantal. Even in seasons where you can't feel him, faith reminds you he's still there. Every breath you take is a reminder of his nearness. Every sunrise is proof that he's still walking with you into a new day filled with purpose and hope. When you walk with Jesus, ordinary moments become sacred. The simple become supernatural, because his presence turns every step into a divine journey. You begin to realize that he's not just the God of Sunday mornings, he's the God of everyday life. He walks with you when you wake up tired, when you face disappointment, when you struggle to believe. He walks with you at work, in traffic, in silence, and even in your doubts. His companionship doesn't fade when your faith feels weak, it grows stronger. You start to recognize that peace isn't the absence of trouble, it's the presence of Jesus in the middle of it. Every fear begins to shrink when you remember who's walking beside you. When others can't go where you're going, when doors close and paths twist, his voice whispers, "Keep walking. I'm still with you." That's what gives courage to your heart, knowing that you're never truly alone. Some people will walk with you only when life is easy, but Jesus walks with you when life is hardest. When your heart breaks, he carries the pieces. When you run out of strength, he becomes your strength. When you fall, he doesn't condemn. He reaches down and helps you rise again. That's what makes walking with him so different. It's not a path of fear, but of faith. Every trial becomes a classroom where you learn to trust his character. Every delay becomes a reminder that he's still in control. Even when the way forward seems uncertain, his spirit gently leads you. You may not know what tomorrow holds, but you know who holds tomorrow. His presence goes before you, his mercy follows behind you, and his love surrounds you, no matter how dark the road may get. He's already walked it before you. And when you can't walk any further, he carries you through. To walk with Jesus is to live in unshakable assurance. It's knowing that whether you're on a mountain of victory or in a valley of tears, he's beside you. You might lose friends, opportunities, or possessions, but you can never lose his presence. He doesn't abandon you when you struggle. He draws closer. Even in moments of silence, he's working behind the scenes, weaving every thread of your story into something beautiful. The footprints of grace follow every step you take with him. You begin to realize that every closed door protected you, every delay prepared you, and every pain produced something eternal. That's what it means to never walk alone, to know that every season, every challenge, every heartache is shared with the one who loves you beyond measure. And when you look back over your life, you'll see it clearly. Every time you thought you were walking alone, he was carrying you. There are moments in life when the weight of the world feels too heavy to carry, when you look around and realize that the people you counted on are no longer there. The laughter fades, the crowd disappears, and you're left with silence that feels deafening. In those moments, it's easy to believe that you've been forgotten, that no one understands what you're going through. But the truth is, you are never truly alone. When you walk with Jesus, his presence surrounds you even when you can't see it. His hand holds yours even when you can't feel it. He promised never to leave you, never to forsake you, and never to abandon you in the middle of the storm. His companionship is not based on your worthiness, but on his faithfulness. He walks beside you through pain, through joy, through uncertainty, and through triumph. Even when you stumble, he steadies you. Even when you fall, he lifts you. Life may lead you into valleys, but you'll never walk through them without his light guiding your path. Walking with Jesus means learning that his presence is not limited to the good days. It's constant, even in the darkness. When life feels uncertain and the road seems endless, Jesus is the calm voice whispering, "Keep going, I'm here." You may not see the destination, but he knows the way. The journey with him is not always smooth, but it's always secure. He doesn't promise the absence of trouble. He promises the presence of peace. When storms rise and the wind howls, he walks upon the waves to reach you. He doesn't wait for you to climb out of the storm. He enters it with you. His presence transforms fear into courage and despair into hope. You might feel like you're standing in the fire, but remember, the same God who walked with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the furnace is walking beside you now. You're never walking alone because the Creator of the universe has chosen to walk with you every step of the way. When you walk with Jesus, you begin to see life differently. You realize that even the hardest seasons carry hidden purposes. What once looked like setbacks become setups for something greater. You start to notice his fingerprints in the smallest details, the right words spoken at the right time, the door that closed to protect you, the strength that rose inside you when you thought you had none left. He's not just walking ahead to lead you. He's walking beside you to teach you, and behind you to guard you. You might not always understand why things happen, but his presence gives you peace that surpasses understanding. Walking with Jesus is not about perfection, it's about progression, about growing in trust, faith, and love with every step. The closer you walk with him, the more your worries lose their grip, because his nearness brings assurance that everything will work for your good. You start to rest, knowing that even in silence, he's still speaking through your circumstances. The beauty of walking with Jesus is that he meets you where you are. You don't have to walk fast, you just have to walk with him. There are days when your strength will fail, and all you can do is take one small step, but even that step counts. He doesn't rush you, and he doesn't leave you behind. When you fall, he bends down to lift you. When you can't see the way forward, his light illuminates just enough for the next step. That's what intimacy with Jesus looks like, a daily companionship that grows stronger in the quiet moments. He's not just there for the grand victories, he's there in the tears, in the questions, in the long nights of waiting. When the world turns its back on you, he turns his face toward you. You don't have to pretend to be strong in his presence. He becomes your strength. You don't have to hide your pain. He heals it as you walk with him. There are times when walking with Jesus will mean walking through loneliness, but even in those moments, his presence fills the emptiness. When friends misunderstand you, when family disappoints you, when people walk away, Jesus stays. His friendship isn't seasonal, it's eternal. He's not like others who love you only when you're easy to love. He walks with you through your flaws, your failures, and your fears. He's not repelled by your weakness, he's drawn to it. The same Jesus who walked dusty roads with fishermen now walks invisible roads with you. Through anxiety, heartbreak, and uncertainty, His voice becomes your compass, His Spirit your comforter. Even when life feels like a wilderness, He becomes your guide. When you don't know what tomorrow holds, He reminds you that He holds tomorrow. That's the beauty of His companionship. It's steady, unfailing, and deeply personal. Walking with Jesus is not just a journey. It's a relationship, one built on trust, love, and unshakable presence. It means knowing that no matter where life takes you, you never take a single step alone. Every valley you go through becomes a place of revelation. Every tear becomes a testimony of His faithfulness. Even in silence, He speaks through peace. Even in chaos, He calms the storm inside you. You start to understand that His presence is your greatest treasure. Not the blessings, not the miracles, but Him. The more you walk with Him, the more you realize that companionship with Christ is not about avoiding hardship, but about having His strength within it. You stop fearing the future because you know who's walking into it with you. Every step with Jesus is a reminder that you are loved, chosen, and never forsaken, and in that truth you find the courage to keep walking, one step at a time, never alone. When you walk with Jesus, life takes on a new meaning. You begin to see that every trial, every tear, and every moment of silence was never endured alone. His unseen hand has been guiding you, His voice whispering peace into the chaos, and His love covering every broken piece of your heart. The road may not always be smooth, but His presence makes every step bearable. The storms that once terrified you now remind you of His power, and the valleys that once felt endless now echo with His promises. Walking with Jesus means walking with peace, purpose, and power, knowing that no matter where life leads, His grace goes before you, His mercy follows you, and His love surrounds you. Through every victory and every valley, He remains constant. His companionship never fades, His love never weakens, and His faithfulness never fails. You don't need to have all the answers. You just need to stay close to the one who does. When you choose to walk with Jesus daily, your burdens become lighter, your hope grows stronger, and your heart becomes anchored in divine peace. Every step with Him is a reminder that you are never forgotten, never abandoned, and always loved beyond measure. So keep walking. Even when the path is uncertain, keep trusting. Even when the night feels long, because Jesus is not only walking beside you, He's carrying you when your strength runs out. His presence is your greatest promise and your everlasting peace. Thank you for listening. May your heart stay steady in His love, your steps firm in His grace, and your spirit always reminded that you never walk alone. God bless you.